I don't serve animals." The words snapped across the restaurant like a whip. Derek Hammond, red-faced, middle-aged, white polo stretching across his belly, grabbed the burger the black man had waited 22 minutes for and hurled it into the trash. The lid clanged against the tiled wall. Every fork in the dining room froze mid-air. Conversations died. Only the hum of the ceiling fan filled the silence. "You people walk in expecting equal treatment?" Derek sneered, stepping closer. "Look at your skin, then look around." He gestured toward the crowd of white faces pretending to be fascinated by their food. "See the difference? People like you don't belong in my restaurant. Get out before I call the cops and say you threatened me." The man, late 50s, weary eyes, dark skin glistening under the fluorescent lights, still in his hospital scrubs after a 12-hour shift, stood motionless. His jaw clenched. He trembled not from fear, but from humiliation so sharp it stripped his voice away. Then he turned and walked out into the night. Derek smirked and wiped his hands on a towel like he'd cleaned a mess. What he didn't see, someone in the corner booth had been recording the whole thing. Andrew Collins sat frozen in that booth, his phone still pointed at the counter, fingers trembling. The words, "I don't serve animals," echoed in his skull. This was his restaurant. His company's name printed on every cup, every napkin. He'd built this dream from a food truck 15 years ago. Unity Eats, good food, no barriers. And now that dream had just spat in a man's face. Andrew stopped recording. His hand shook so hard the phone nearly slipped. He looked around. 15 people. Not one had moved. Not one had spoken. They had watched the humiliation and looked away like it was weather. This wasn't an accident. This was rot. Something festering inside his business while he'd been in boardrooms counting profits. He walked out through the same door the man in scrubs had used, desperate for air, for clarity, for forgiveness. 3 days earlier, the signs had already been there, hidden in spreadsheets. At 3 a.m., he had stared at a screen filled with data he couldn't ignore. 47 complaints in 3 months, all from Peachtree, his flagship store. The words repeated like a curse: unwelcome, ignored, disrespected. One message stopped him cold. "I'm a black woman. Been coming for 2 years. Last month, your manager told me I'd be more comfortable somewhere else. I cried in my car for 20 minutes, never coming back." Andrew read it 5 times, his chest tightening each time. But the dashboard told a different story. Revenue up 18%, customer satisfaction 4.2 stars, labor efficiency excellent. Derek Hammond was even up for a bonus. Racism had become profitable. Then came the call. 5:48 a.m., unknown number. "Mr. Collins?" a young woman's voice whispered, trembling. "I can't say my name. I work at Peachtree. You need to know what's happening." Andrew sat upright. "Tell me." "Derek trains us to treat black customers differently. He has a system, codes, signals, even a notebook. He calls it customer optimization, but it's racism. If we don't follow, he threatens our jobs. I have a daughter. I need this job, but I can't keep doing this. Please, what's your name? How can I—" Click. The line went dead. Andrew stared into the dark, haunted by his younger self, the boy who'd once painted his food truck sign by hand, who'd said, "Everyone eats here, no matter who they are." He pulled out that old Unity Eats hoodie from a box, rubbed dirt on his sneakers, left his Rolex on the counter. The man in the mirror looked ordinary again, the kind Derek wouldn't serve. And that was exactly the point. Andrew drove to Peachtree at lunch rush and parked at the curb, engine idling while the restaurant breathed its midday rhythm. He watched like a surgeon studying a wound. The system, Derek's system, moved with the smooth cruelty of a machine. White customers flowed to the front and were fast-tracked. Smiles, immediate greeting, steaming trays. Customers of color were funneled into the slow lane. Delayed greetings, clipped replies, food that cooled under heat lamps while they checked their phones and counted the minutes. The contrast was surgical, unmistakable. At one counter, Andrew watched Derek again. Same flinch-free contempt, snatch a burger and toss it in the trash like refuse. The words, "I don't serve animals," still rang in his ears. In the lot, he watched the hospital scrub's Honda drive away, the bumper sticker that read, "Healthcare heroes work here," like an accusation. The man had been humiliated, and Andrew felt a new hardness settle into him. Not anger only, but responsibility. He called his lawyer from the car. "Patricia, I need termination paperwork on my desk by tomorrow morning. Airtight. Derek Hammond, and probably Greg Hamilton if he's involved. I have recordings and evidence of systematic discrimination. I have a company to save." Silence answered, then a clipped, "Ready by 8 a.m. That night, Andrew told himself he would find the man in scrubs, apologize, and fix this. A CEO who lets injustice live in his building is an accomplice, and Andrew was done being absent. The next day, he returned at 11:43 a.m. in plain disguise, orange safety vest, paint-stained jeans, drywall dust scored into his sleeves and collar. He smelled like work. He sat in the same corner booth, ordered nothing, and watched. He pretended to scroll. In truth, his camera roamed. By 11:58, the lunch tide rose. A young black woman in business casual stepped to register 3. "Can I get the bacon cheeseburger meal?" she asked. Derek materialized like a shadow behind a cashier who'd barely been old enough to vote when Andrew founded Unity Eats. Derek tapped the counter twice. Terrell's fingers, until seconds ago fast and sure, stuttered. The screen had processed the order, but his hands slowed to molasses. "That'll be just a moment while the system loads," he said, though there was no wait. Across the room, a white man in a suit placed the same order at register 2. His cashier punched the keys and handed the tray before the woman could blink. The white man's order time, 12:03. The black woman's order time, 12:01. 10 seconds later, the suit left with steaming, perfect food. At 12:19, 18 minutes later, the woman finally opened her bag. Room temperature burger, stale bun, onions she'd asked to omit folded over the patty like an insult. She did not complain. She left, shoulders tight with the practiced restraint of someone who has learned protesting costs more than the wrong sandwich. Andrew's jaw tightened. At 12:34, Derek retrieved a small black notebook from beneath the register. Andrew zoomed his camera. Derek scribbled blocky notes, times, order numbers, shorthand codes. 12:01 order 52S 15 min hold, 12:03 order 48 P standard, 12:15 order 661 S cold station, S and P standard and priority. He flipped through months of entries, systematized cruelty, refined into policy. This had not been a one-off. It was a manual for exclusion. At 12:41, Marcus, the new 16-year-old hire, arrived. Derek pulled him aside beside the drink station. The conversation floated across to Andrew's booth, clear as a confession. "Marcus," Derek said, "customer service is about efficiency. Some customers appreciate what we do. Respect this place. They get priority, fast, friendly, fresh food. Understand?" "Yes, sir," Marcus replied, wide-eyed. "Others," Derek's voice dropped, "come in with attitudes, entitled, from neighborhoods where they don't teach respect. Those customers we handle differently. Polite, but we don't rush. Don't waste energy." "How do I know which is which?" Marcus asked. "You'll know. Trust me. Watch me. I'll signal," Derek demonstrated. 2 taps meant slow down, 1 tap meant normal. "That's how we maintain standards. Keep the right clientele." His smile was the ugliest Andrew had ever seen, a teacher handing down the first lesson in prejudice. At 12:52, a veteran shuffled in, cane tapping the floor. Derek intercepted before the man completed his order. "We're out of most items. 20-minute wait minimum. Maybe try somewhere else." The veteran looked around at a half-full dining room where white customers ate promptly, understood what the delay meant, and left with a quiet resignation that cut Andrew deeper than any insult. It wasn't only the racism. Andrew had expected that. What broke him now was the choreography of cruelty. The practiced smirk after a man left hungry, the sick look in teenage employees' faces as they swallowed dignity to keep paychecks the way customers of color had normalized humiliation as the cost of a lunch out. Enough. Andrew rose from the booth, the phone in his hand still recording. He walked straight to register 3, palms steady, heart thudding with the weight of the moment. Terrell looked up, and for a second his shoulders slumped at the sight of another black man in work clothes. Recognition, fatigue, shame. "Welcome to Unity Eats," Terrell said automatically, voice catching. "What can I get you?" "Cheeseburger combo, medium Coke," Andrew replied. He watched Derek's fingers. He watched for the taps. He kept the camera rolling. This time, the recording would be more than proof. It would be the start of undoing what Derek had taught them to do. "That'll be $8.50. Cash or card?" Terrell's voice trembled. "Cash," Andrew replied, handing over a $10 bill. Terrell leaned toward the kitchen mic, voice low. "Order 124. Standard pace, boss protocol." Andrew's pulse froze. Boss protocol. They had named it. Racism turned into policy, wrapped in business jargon. Terrell's hands shook as he counted change. "Sorry, sir. Kitchen's backed up. About 10 to 12 minutes." Andrew's gaze drifted left. White woman ordered after him, already unwrapping a steaming burger. He turned back. "Is it always this slow?" Terrell's mask cracked. Pain flashed across his face before he forced it back down. He leaned in, whispering, "I'm so sorry, I need this job." Not an apology for the delay, an apology for the cruelty he'd been ordered to perform. Andrew's voice softened. "Not your fault." Terrell blinked, startled. "Sir, I see you." For the first time that day, Terrell's eyes glistened, not from fear, but from being seen. He nodded once, quickly, then turned away before emotion gave him away. Andrew moved to the pickup area, pretending to wait. The choreography continued like a dark ballet. Black customers delayed, white customers expedited, each step rehearsed into routine. At 1:14 p.m., 15 minutes later, they called his number. He opened the bag. Cold burger, soggy fries, no extra pickles, every mistake deliberate. A message in food form, "You're not worth the heat." He thought of the hospital worker, the woman with onions, the veteran turned away, the employees too afraid to resist. My company, he thought. My name, my dream turned into this. He dialed his head of security. "I need something done quietly tonight," he said. "Pull 6 months of Peachtree security footage, every shift schedule, complaint log, and Derek Hammond's full personnel file. Discreetly. Consider it done." Then he took a single bite of the cold burger. To remember the taste of humiliation. Next call. "Patricia," he said when his lawyer answered. "It's worse than I thought. I have Derek on video training a teen to discriminate. I have him saying, 'Boss protocol.' I watched him deny a veteran. I experienced it myself." "What do you need?" she asked. "Emergency meeting tomorrow. All Peachtree employees, 6 a.m., termination papers for Derek Hammond, ironclad. And I want protection agreements for every witness, job security, financial coverage, no retaliation." "You're going public?" "In front of everyone," Andrew said. "They need to see the system protects them, not the abusers. I'll have everything ready by 5 a.m. "One more thing," Andrew added. "Promotion paperwork, assistant manager, for Terrell Bryant. He's been forced to comply to survive. Tomorrow, I'll show him that integrity beats obedience." "Understood," Patricia replied. Andrew ended the call and looked across the restaurant where Derek laughed with another employee, still smug, still untouchable. Not for long. That night, Andrew didn't go home. He sat in his car across the street, headlights off, watching Peachtree's lights burn late. At 6:30 p.m., he changed into a janitor's uniform he'd bought that afternoon and went back in. The dinner rush was smaller, 15 customers, but Derek was still prowling the floor like a king guarding his kingdom. The pattern hadn't changed. A black customer at 6:38 p.m. told to, "Please wait, kitchen's backed up." Waited 19 minutes. A white customer at 6:40 got his order in 5. The cruelty sharpened in smaller crowds. Derek thrived in shadows, but Andrew saw something else now, the staff's fear. They moved around Derek like he carried an invisible whip. Heads low, no eye contact. Smiles only when he demanded them. This wasn't just bias, it was tyranny. At 7:15, Andrew stood, walked toward the restrooms, and paused when voices drifted from the cracked break room door. "I can't keep doing this, Janice," Terrell whispered. "I've got 3 years left in college and 20 grand in debt. I can lose this job, but I can keep treating people like they were less." Shanice sighed. "My son's 8. Last week he asked why I cry before coming home. How do I tell him I spend 40 hours a week making people feel invisible?" Andrew pressed against the wall, recording. "I tried talking to Derek once," Terrell said. He smiled, said, "You want me to write you up for insubordination? That'll follow you to every job, like he was doing me a favor." Shanice sniffed. "We're trapped. Nobody cares. I called the corporate hotline. They sent me to Greg Hamilton, Derek's best friend. They fished together." Terrell's voice cracked. "Then we're done. I saw the complaint logs. 43 reports of discrimination in 3 months. Derek threw them out. Corporate saw only 4. Andrew's chest tightened. Greg had been intercepting his own customers' cries for help. "I'm thinking about quitting," Terrell whispered. "Every time I slow down for someone just because they're black, I lose a piece of myself." "Don't quit," Shanice said weakly. "Someone will stop him." "Who? Collins? He's never here. Probably doesn't even know our names." Those words broke him more than Derek ever could. He had become a ghost in his own dream. Andrew slipped into the restroom, locked himself in a stall, head in his hands. Fury, guilt, purpose. They tangled in his chest like fire and wire. At 8:02 p.m., he stepped back into the hallway and froze. Derek stood outside the back door, phone to his ear, cigarette glowing. "Telling you the system works," Derek said, voice carrying into the night. "Marietta Store's numbers are up 12% since you started implementing it." Andrew's blood turned to ice. Another store, another infection. "Corporate doesn't track service times by race," Derek said, smug. "They'll never notice. All they see is revenue and efficiency. We're curating the customer base. The beauty is plausible deniability. Hand signals, verbal codes, no paperwork. Collins is too busy playing CEO to see it." He laughed, the sound low, cold, and certain. Andrew pressed record. Tomorrow morning, that laugh would die in front of every witness. Tomorrow, Unity Eats would remember what its name meant. The problem customers stopped coming back. That's the point. Derek's voice was smug over the phone as Andrew watched him through a shadowed parking lot. "We are improving the guest experience for our target demographic by removing friction from people who don't fit the brand image. You know what I mean?" Andrew wanted to rip the phone from Derek's hand and end him on the spot. But he needed more than fury. He needed proof, scope, and the ability to end the cancer without collateral damage. So he recorded the call instead. "I'll send you the training manual I wrote," Derek told Greg. "Nothing official, just notes for managers who get it. Call it Operational Efficiency Protocols if anyone asks." Pause. "Greg's rolling it out across his 4 stores by end of quarter. Decatur starts next week." Andrew's chest tightened. This wasn't a bad apple. This was a coordinated system. Derek laughed and hung up. Andrew remained in darkness, phone alive in his hand, feeling a new clarity harden inside him. This was Greg. This was a network. This was metastasizing while he collected awards and quarterly reports. At 10:52 p.m., the store closed. Employees filed out under fluorescent bulbs. Terrell and Shanice together, faces drawn, shoulders older than their years. Derek locked the doors and walked to his truck. Andrew waited 30 seconds, then followed at a distance. Derek drove to Miller's, a 24-hour diner. Andrew parked 3 rows back and watched as a silver Lexus rolled in. Personalized plate, Gregham. Greg Hamilton slid into the booth opposite Derek. Andrew bought a newspaper, propped his phone against the sugar caddy, and recorded the meeting. What Derek slid across the table was small and black, a notebook. Greg flipped it open. Derek's handwriting, pencil marks, shorthand. "Beautiful work," Greg murmured. 18 months of documentation. Derek beamed. Customer cycle time down 8%. Complaints from target demographics down 15. You've weaponized efficiency. They talked scaling. With casual cruelty, they sketched the rollout. Marietta live, Decatur next, Roswell and Sandy Springs by the end of the month. They spoke of pushback with crisp, bureaucratic malice. Cut hours until they quit. Fabricate performance issues. Build a paper trail that looks like failure, not retaliation. No firing. Too messy. Make lives intolerable until they leave. "What about that kid at Register 3? Terrell?" Greg asked. "Getting soft," Derek said. "Cut him to 15 hours. If he doesn't quit in 2 weeks, find a reason. Uniform violation, tardiness. Build the file, then terminate." They clasped hands. They smiled like conspirators celebrating a profit forecast. Andrew left the diner with the notebook in his head and a steel knot in his chest. Back in his car, he watched the playback. Derek's voice, Greg's laugh, the handshake sealing the plan. He called Patricia at midnight. First ring. She answered, steady. "Patricia, I have everything." He didn't whisper the word conspiracy. He let it land heavy. Video, audio, Derek instructing employees, Greg corroborating, plans to destroy empathetic staff, evidence of intercepted complaints. This is organized discrimination and retaliation. "Walk me through tomorrow," Patricia said. She listened, measured, then began mapping legal and operational steps. Immediate terminations, witness protections, blanket communication, external ethics firm engagement, chain of custody for every file. "If you show this evidence publicly in front of staff, you'll change the calculus. You'll protect witnesses and make it clear the company stands with them, not against them." Andrew felt relief and a 100-pound responsibility at once. He transferred the diner footage to his secure folder at 1:23 a.m., corporate parking lot lights blinking overhead. Back in his office, the trophies and plaques suddenly read like indictments. CEO of the Year. What had he truly overseen? The awards were monuments to absenteeism. He created a new folder, Peachtree Investigation Evidence. Then he cataloged every file with care. Dates, times, short descriptions. Video 1, Derek throws burger in trash. Calls customer animal. Yesterday, 12:43 p.m. Duration, 2:18. Video 2, Derek training Marcus in hand, signals to slow, fast service. Today, 12:41 p.m. Duration, 4:32. Audio 1. Terrell and Shanice in break room. Complaint logs intercepted, threats of write-ups. Today, 7:15 p.m. Duration, 6:11. Audio 2. Derek phone call, Marietta rollout, curating customer base. Today, 8:02 p.m. Duration, 3:48. Video 3. Diner meeting, black notebook exchanged, plans across 4 stores, targeted retaliation against Terrell. Today, 11:08 p.m. Duration, 18:22. He watched Greg say on camera, "You've weaponized efficiency." That phrase would hang in courtrooms and HR files for years. Patricia's voice came through firm and clear. This is ironclad. Conspiracy to discriminate, retaliation, destruction of evidence. There's exposure on every front. Emergency meeting at 6 a.m. You call every Peachtree employee. Security will be on standby. Termination paperwork for Derek Hammond and Greg Hamilton. Airtight. We protect witnesses, promote Terrell, Provide counseling and financial protections. Do it in front of staff. Make the message visible. Andrew drafted the agenda as dawn approached. Full staff meeting, evidence presentation, on-the-spot terminations, witness protections, immediate reassignment of affected staff, external audit, hotline to an independent ethics firm, demographic service time audits, mystery shoppers, and a public apology plan. He signed Terrell's promotion letter in the early hours. Assistant manager, $45,000, education stipend, paid leave for legal testimony, and a 1-year retention bonus to ensure safety. He added systemic fixes, an external anonymous hotline, mandatory anti-bias retraining designed and led by an outside firm, service time audits broken down by demographic, and a zero-tolerance policy with transparent escalation. He crafted language for the press release that would not bury facts nor defend the indefensible. At 4:48 a.m., he breathed, sat back, and looked at the folder of evidence one more time. This was not just firing 2 men. This was reclaiming Unity Eat's name. It was a demonstration that a company built on unity could and would undo the rot it had allowed. He didn't sleep. He drove straight to corporate headquarters, walked past the night security, and sat in his office until the sun stained the sky. The awards on the wall glinted like a promise he'd forgotten to keep. By 5 a.m., Patricia confirmed the termination packets and witness protections were complete. By 5:45 a.m., security had the backups and chain of custody handles in place. At 6 a.m., Peachtree staff would gather. Andrew rehearsed the words he would say: apology, accountability, and action. He would show them the recordings. He would show them the notebook. He would sign Terrell's promotion in front of everyone. He would make clear that speaking up worked and that the company now protected those who did. Unity Eats, Andrew promised himself, would remember why it existed. Not profits first, not curated clientele, but the old food truck line painted on his chest. Good food. No barriers. Tonight he would stop the metastasis or die trying. Andrew's phone buzzed at 3:15 a.m. His head of security spoke low. "We got the footage you wanted. The man Derek humiliated, hospital scrubs, Grady Memorial Badge, ran the plates. William Foster, 56, nurse, 28 years on the job." Andrew's voice was gravel. "Send me his contact. I'll call him after this meeting." He sat for a moment under the dull blue of pre-dawn, the city quiet except for a street cleaner passing by. Every betrayal had a name now. Foster, Terrell, Shanice, all collateral damage under his banner of unity. He turned to the black notebook lying open on his dashboard. The diner manager had found it under Derek's booth when Andrew returned at 2 a.m., flashed his ID, and explained he was investigating corporate misconduct. The man handed it over without hesitation. Now, in the shifting light, the notebook looked like a relic of rot, handwriting cramped and proud. Order number 52, cold hold 15 minutes. Order number 48, priority fresh. Dozens of coded entries stretching back 18 months. Derek had built a blueprint for humiliation and bragged about it in ink. "Tomorrow," Andrew whispered to himself, "you learn what pride costs." By 5:38 a.m., he pulled into the Peachtree lot. The neon sign flickered weakly against the morning fog. Patricia Morales arrived seconds later, stepping out in heels and steel determination, 2 briefcases swinging. "Security's 2 minutes out," she said. "Terminations, NDAs for protection, promotion letter, all ready." Andrew nodded. "Thank you, Patricia. Let's finish this." At 5:52 a.m., the employees began to trickle in. Terrell first, eyes anxious, Shanice behind him clutching coffee, then Lisa, Marcus, the kitchen staff. Their whispers carried the scent of fear. "Corporate audit," they murmured. "Routine check." At 5:59 a.m., Derek's gray sedan rolled up. He looked annoyed but unconcerned, adjusting his badge and muttering something about corporate nonsense. He pushed through the doors like he owned the air inside. At 6 sharp, Andrew entered through the front. No suit, no CEO polish. Just a man in dusty work clothes, face lined from a sleepless night. Derek stepped forward, confused and irritated. "Sir, we're closed for a meeting. You'll have to—" Andrew walked past him, silent. Set his old Unity Eats badge on the counter. "My name," he said, voice low and steady, "is Andrew Collins. I founded this company 15 years ago." The room froze. Terrell's hand flew to his mouth. Shanice gasped. Marcus whispered, "Oh my God." Derek went sheet white. "Yesterday," Andrew continued, "I ordered a burger from Register 3. He looked at Terrell. "You served me. You whispered, 'Standard pace, boss protocol,' and then you said, 'I need this job.'" Terrell's lip quivered. "Sir, I'm not here to fire you," Andrew said softly. His gaze shifted, cold now. "I'm here to fire him." All eyes turned to Derek. The air cracked. "Mr. Collins, Andrew cut him off. "I recorded your meeting with Greg Hamilton last night. Miller's Diner, 11 p.m. Would you like me to play it?" Derek blinked, frozen. Andrew pressed play. Greg's voice filled the room. "Customer cycle time down 8%. You've weaponized efficiency." Gasps rippled through the staff. Shanice covered her mouth. Marcus looked ready to vomit. Andrew let it play for a few seconds longer, then stopped it cold. "I have 18 minutes of you discussing your so-called priority system, teaching employees to discriminate, retaliating against anyone who resists, spreading this to other stores." Derek's lips trembled. Those are just efficiency metrics." Andrew slammed the transcript onto the counter. "You told Greg to cut Terrell's hours because he was too empathetic. You planned to destroy his career for giving a customer extra fries." Terrell's knees buckled. Shanice steadied him. Andrew hit play again. This time, the footage of the burger tossed into the trash. Derek's voice, "I don't serve animals. People like you don't belong here." The room gasped. Someone swore under their breath. "That man," Andrew said, voice breaking with restrained fury, "was William Foster, 56 years old, a nurse at Grady Memorial, 28 years of saving lives. You threw his food away and called him an animal," Derek sputtered. You're going to believe I'm that guy." Andrew stepped closer until their faces were inches apart. "I was there, disguised. I watched you humiliate him. Watched you teach cruelty like it was company policy. Watched you call it efficiency." The dining room fell silent except for Andrew's heartbeat echoing in his ears. Derek finally looked away. "Today," Andrew said, his voice rising now, "you answer for all of it." He turned toward the employees, Terrell, Shanice, every exhausted worker who'd carried shame not theirs to bear. "This ends now." "He conspired with Derek to spread this system across stores," Andrew said flatly. Murmurs rippled through the room, shock, disbelief, quiet fury. Andrew turned slowly, letting the silence linger. "That ends today. I'm restructuring regional management, more oversight, more accountability, and more presence. No more towers, no more distance." Then he faced Terrell. "I'm promoting from within, people who showed integrity when it cost them everything." He reached into his bag, pulled out an envelope, and walked toward Terrell. The young man looked confused. "What's this?" "Open it." Terrell tore the seal, scanned the letter, and froze. His mouth fell open. "Assistant manager? Me?" Andrew smiled. "You, 45,000 a year, full benefits, college stipend, starts today." Terrell's legs buckled and he sank onto a chair. I don't understand." Andrew knelt beside him, eye to eye. "Yesterday you were forced to discriminate, and you hated every second of it. You treated me with dignity when it could have cost your job. You apologized for something that wasn't your fault. That's leadership, Terrell. Real leadership." "What if I'm not ready?" Andrew's voice softened. "Neither was I when I started. But I cared. That's enough to begin. He stood, addressing the room. Terrell knows what discrimination looks like from the inside. He's lived it. That makes him the perfect person to help me ensure it never happens again. Terrell swallowed hard. What do I say? Andrew smiled. Say yes. Help me fix this. A quiet whisper. Yes. Andrew handed him a new name tag. Terrell Bryant, assistant manager. Terrell stared at it like it was a medal. Then Andrew lifted the black notebook, the record of Derek's cruelty, and held it up. This is 18 months of hate, systemized and disguised as policy. Everything Unity Eats was built to fight. He turned to Terrell. Want to do the honors? Terrell rose, trembling slightly. He took the notebook with both hands, staring at it. Every time I followed these rules, I felt like I was betraying people who looked like me. I'd go home and couldn't look at myself. You were a victim, not a traitor, Andrew said. Never forget that. Terrell raised the notebook. For William Foster, for everyone humiliated, ignored, or denied dignity. He dropped it into the trash. Thud. For a second, no one moved. Then Shanice started clapping, hesitant, trembling. Lisa joined, then Marcus, then everyone. The applause grew, raw, cathartic, desperate. People cried as they clapped, releasing months of fear. Terrell stood taller now, shoulders back, head high for the first time. Andrew raised his hands. The room quieted. New rule, he said. I visit every store, unannounced, every month. No more offices, no more spreadsheets. I'll be on floors, at registers, talking to customers, my cell number's on every policy. You text me, you call me, I answer. Marcus raised a hand. What about other stores? Derek mentioned them. Already investigating, Andrew said. Anonymous reports from Marietta, Decatur, Roswell. If there's rot anywhere in this company, I'll cut it out, personally. He checked his watch. It's 7:18 a.m. We open in 42 minutes. I'm staying for the lunch rush. I want to see Unity Eats done right. Silence followed. Not the silence of fear, but of hope. People who'd been underwater finally breaking surface. Shanice's voice broke through softly. Why come yourself? You could have sent corporate, fired him quietly. Why risk going undercover? Andrew's gaze drifted to the window, dawn lighting his face. Because spreadsheets don't show pain, he said. Revenue can rise while people are destroyed. I needed to see it, feel it, to understand how badly I failed by not being here. And in that moment, everyone understood. Unity Eats wasn't just being rebuilt, it was being redeemed. Andrew looked around the dining room, bright light, morning laughter, the smell of coffee and hope. I built this on a promise, he said quietly, that everyone deserves dignity. Somewhere along the way, I forgot that promises don't keep themselves. They require presence, vigilance, the courage to walk the floor and face the truth, even when it's ugly. Terrell stepped forward, voice stronger than ever. You could have just fired Derek. Why the new policies, hotlines, mystery shoppers? Andrew nodded. Because firing Derek isn't enough. Systems create Dereks. If I don't change the system, someone else will step into his shoes and do the same thing. Real change isn't a T about punishing bad people. It's about building systems that make it impossible for bad people to thrive. He slung his old canvas bag over his shoulder. Now, let's show this neighborhood what Unity Eats really stands for. Terrell grinned. You got it. I'm running point. You on register? Andrew smiled. Right beside you. For the first time in months, the Peachtree crew smiled. Real smiles, reaching their eyes. 3 weeks later, Tuesday, 12:28 p.m. The restaurant buzzed with life. Sunlight, music, laughter. The air felt lighter, as if someone had opened the windows after a long storm. Andrew sat in his corner booth, half watching reports, mostly watching people. Terrell, confident, calm, handled the lunch rush like a veteran. Staff moved with pride, not fear. Customers, black, white, Latino, Asian, were treated the same, warmly, equally, human. A black woman in her 60s stepped up. Andrew recognized her from the complaint files. She'd once cried in her car after Derek told her to go somewhere else. Terrell smiled at her. "Welcome to Unity Eats. What can I get you today?" "Bacon cheeseburger meal," she said softly. "4 minutes, ma'am. Thank you." While waiting, she noticed the poster behind him. The Unity Pledge. "We see every customer. We serve every customer with dignity. No exceptions." "That's new," she said. "Yes, ma'am," Terrell replied. "It's how we do things now. How we should have always done things." 4 minutes later, she bit into her burger. Steam rose. Her eyes lit up. "Now that's what I'm talking about." Andrew exhaled slowly. That moment, that small act of restored dignity, made everything worth it. At 2 p.m., Terrell joined Andrew with 2 drinks. "You don't have to sit with me," Andrew said. "I know," Terrell smiled, "but I wanted to. I almost quit the day before you came undercover." "What stopped you?" "My mom. She said, 'Baby, sometimes you gotta outlast the evil to see the good.' I didn't believe her, but she was right." "She sounds wise," Andrew said. "She wants to meet you. Says any man who'd go undercover to protect his people is worth knowing." Andrew smiled softly. "I'd like that." Terrell looked around. "You came back to the floor. That's where truth lives." "Took me 15 years to remember," Andrew said, watching the crowd. "What if someone like Derek comes back?" Terrell asked. "That's why you're here," Andrew said. "And Shanice, Lisa, Marcus. You all know what rot looks like now. You're the guardrails." Terrell nodded. "We won't let it happen again." Andrew grinned. "Good. Next week, you're coming with me to Marietta. Anonymous tip. We're going undercover again." Terrell straightened. "Seriously? You see better than anyone now." Terrell's eyes burned with purpose. "Then let's go clean house." At 3 p.m., Andrew's phone buzzed. 7 hotline alerts. Marietta manager doing what Derek did. Decatur prioritizing certain customers. Roswell retaliation against fair treatment. Terrell read them. 7 people brave enough to speak up because they saw it works. Andrew typed quickly. "Tell me everything. You're protected. We're coming." He looked at Terrell. "Clear your schedule. It's time." "Let's do it," Terrell said, fierce, certain. Through the window, William Foster, the nurse Derek humiliated, walked in. He saw the Unity Pledge, saw Terrell's new badge, saw the smiles. Their eyes met. Foster smiled, truly smiled, then got in line to order lunch. Andrew's throat tightened. That's what Unity looks like. 6 months later. The Peachtree Unity Eats glowed like a beacon. Every table full, every customer equal, every worker proud. Andrew stood near Register 3 watching Terrell, now regional manager, promoted to oversee 4 stores. The man who once whispered, "I need this job," now led with grace and strength. A familiar black man approached the counter, the same one Derek had once told, "Maybe try somewhere else." Marcus took his order. 3 minutes, 48 seconds later, fresh burger, perfect service. The man grinned. "Whatever changed 6 months ago, keep doing it. This place finally lives up to its name." Andrew's phone buzzed. Text from Patricia. 9 stores audited. All clean. Mystery shopper scores. 98%. You did it. He looked at the wall. Photos of 180 employees, all smiling under a sign that read, "See every customer. Serve every customer. Respect every customer." Terrell handed him a drink. "You said you'd visit monthly. You've been here every week." Andrew laughed. "Can't stay away. This is where the work matters." Shanice, the anonymous caller who started it all, now led the new Unity Culture Committee. The woman who once cried in her car came back every week. The system that once broke people now lifted them. Because change didn't start in boardrooms, it started on the floor, where real people served real people, where promises were kept one meal at a time. Andrew looked at Terrell, at the staff, at the customers. "This is it," he said. "This is the promise kept." Text appeared on screen. Fate Tales presents The Promise Kept. If you've ever been told you don't belong, your story matters. Share this. Let's make sure no one ever has to whisper, "I need this job," while being forced to hurt others. Your dignity is not negotiable. We see you, and we're not going anywhere.